All right. I think we're live. We should be live. So, what's up, internet peeps? This is really exciting. I have some notes, so wanted to go over some wins for the week, kind of keep you guys updated. But before I start off, I just want to say, first of all, like the overwhelming amount of support and messages and calls and everything was just ridiculous. Like I truly thank you guys. People I haven't talked to in years reached out to me. It was just really cool, right? To put yourself out there, and I did the last video just for myself. Like I I really didn't intend for it to be anything astronomical or anything like that. Like I didn't expect people to really watch it. I kind of just posted it on my timeline more as an accountability for myself. But then also at the same time something that how Facebook puts like a 1 year timeline, so just something I could reflect on for myself personally. And the just the amount of people that watched the video, the amount of people that commented, that shared, that reached out, it was insane. Incredibly humbling, if you will. And it also let me realize that I'm not alone in this. Like I thought I was really the only one that kind of had these feelings. I mean, I knew other people probably had some addictions too when it came to food, but there were so many people that reached out to me. They might not be in my position where they need to lose 200 pounds, but man, I had some unbelievable conversations with people, um, with the same type of struggles, and maybe they only need to lose 50 pounds, but at the same time it's the same thing, right? So getting into this, I wanted to what's up, Mets? How you doing, buddy? Thanks for being live. I appreciate you. And so what I'm intending to do now is a weekly video just going over my journey. And I wasn't necessarily planning on doing that in the beginning or as of last week, but because so many people reached out to me and found it inspiring what I was doing, um, I figured to take it to the next level just for myself, right? This is going to help me as much as it's going to help you guys, I think, that are going to follow along, to know that every Monday I'm going to come on live, have my notes for the week, go over my thoughts, how I feel, give you guys some insight from going, from a guy that was eating whatever he wanted whenever he wanted, to be very purposeful and regimented. And that's kind of where the title of this video came in, right? Was Naked and Afraid. That is kind of how I felt this week. A little bit like I was on an island by myself, right? And having all my prepackaged food and just really kind of being an outcast, if you will. And the other thing too that was really interesting is the appreciate. So when I say naked and afraid, like before last week, or before this whole thing happened, I had no appreciation for food whatsoever, right? So I would just eat whatever, whenever. It didn't matter how much it was, whatever happened. This week, one thing that was really clear to me is, and that's where the naked and afraid thing kind of comes in, is when they're on that show and they find like a bug underneath a tree branch or in the ground or something, and they're like, oh my god, we got a bug to eat today. Like they're so happy. That's kind of how I felt, where before I would have all this food in front of me, around me, it didn't matter, where now I'm eating such smaller portions. I was like salivating over that little bit of food that I had, but I was really appreciating that food that I had. And so it really, 1 week, it doesn't seem like a lot, but man, I feel like I've come milestones just in a week. And just to kind of give you some ideas, I said I had some notes, so I'll give you an idea. Going from what I was probably consuming to be the weight that I was at. And by the way, my official starting weight was 470. I wasn't quite as heavy as I thought. I guess the bathroom scale that I had only went up to 450. That's why I was having an error code on it. So I bought one that weighed me. I wasn't 500 pounds, but 470 still not good at all. So official weight was 470, down 16 pounds, which is great. Obviously, I know first week it's going to be exponential. There's water weight in there. There's all that kind of stuff too. So, but just to go over this, I think, and I wasn't counting calories, but I was probably around 5,000 calories a day would be my guesstimate on how many calories I was consuming before, right? So you figure going from a 5,000 calorie diet to, you know, a quarter of that, there's going to be some adjustments, right? So the first 3 days, I definitely had a headache. I wasn't necessarily hungry, but I definitely had a kind of a little bit of a fog, and I guess what that comes down to is the sugar cravings, and that's what's really big in the course of a week. Alex, what's up, buddy? Thanks for being on, man. Um, the course of the week, I've already kicked my sugar craving and sugar addiction. I shouldn't say kicked it because it's an ongoing battle, but what I realized in my hunger before, when I would eat, I was I was basically eating 2 meals a day, right? So I would wake up in the morning, I might eat something small like a little, I ate bananas. I like bananas for breakfast. So I'd eat banana, and then lunch would be a big meal, and then dinner would be a big meal, and there'd be 6, maybe 7 hours in between, and there'd be all these different crashes throughout the day. So you grab a sweet tea, you grab a Coke or whatever, and you go up and down. And what I realized is a lot of the times the ravenous hunger that I would get when I was really, really hungry was definitely more of a sugar crash, or it was a sugar crash combined with me being actually hungry because it had been way too long for me to eat. So kicking that sugar habit, it really only took about 3 days to where that was normalized. And as soon as that transition happened, as soon as that 3 days happened and that headache was gone, man, I tell you, the people talk about having more energy eating less food. It's 100% the truth. So if you can get that under control, sugar is just, it's a problem. It's a real problem. It's in a lot of stuff. It's in everything. So I feel 100 times better already within week one, right? So I kind of mentioned this on the first video about how I was looking forward to more mental clarity, both in my business and my personal life, everything. And I already feel that happening, which is incredible, right? I didn't necessarily anticipate that to happen so fast, but I was already like, just here's another example, right? So I consider myself somewhat of a handyman, a craftsman, a woodworker. I would always kind of tinker and do stuff around the house. I have a table saw set up and stuff in the garage. And those guys that know me know that I used to build some crazy car stereo builds since I turned into a father and kind of the dad, supreme dad bod, if you will, at 400 pounds. I stopped doing stuff around the house as much, right? I stopped doing projects and having the urge to do projects. Just in the course of this last week, from having more mental clarity, I'm like looking at stuff around the house and like wanting to do projects again, like wanting to get involved with stuff. So it's really crazy. And especially like this room. So if you guys don't know, I had another office before I moved during COVID. I'm now in an extra bedroom in my house. I have these big plans for this to kind of make this my studio. I have a bookshelf in the background that I didn't put it together because I was in this sugar coma. I just didn't have the urge like I wanted to, but I didn't do it. So like now I have that willingness and wanting to tackle projects and stuff like that again, which is really cool. So Aaron, what's up, buddy? How you doing, man? So yeah, that just getting rid of that, kicking that sugar habit, man, that it's terrible. And you don't see the other side till you're past it. So first 3 days really sucked, had the headache, didn't feel good. And again, I'm putting myself in an optimum position. So last week I literally did not leave the house, right? I had all my meals pre-planned, everything was ready to go. I put myself in the best situation to have the best week possible. And all my work was from home. I didn't have any appointments or anything like that. So I had like the optimum week I could have, which is kind of like the naked and afraid. Like I put myself on an island, right? So kicking that sugar habit was really, really awesome. So couple of wins, right? And so what was really funny is the first 3 days I had the headache and everything, and I I'd never measured, like, I can only remember maybe 1 or 2 times in my life I've actually measured food. So now I'm actually measuring my consumption of food, which is a big change, and especially, like, my nighttime meal. So this week, I made a bunch of chicken breasts, or Stephanie actually made me a bunch of chicken breasts for the week, and I just had green leaf lettuce with chicken breast and a yogurt-based salad dressing, recommended from my coach, Sherry, which is really, really good dressing. And the funny part is, like, I was allowed to have 2 tablespoons of dressing. So the first night I made it up, and it's thick dressing. So what I did is I put it in a cup, and then I put some water in it to water it down, and so it kind of covered up the lettuce leaves a little bit more, made me feel like I was having a little bit more dressing. So first night I ate it, second night I ate it, third night, and Stephanie and I, we don't have like set, like, I don't tell her that she empties the dishwasher, I empty the dishwasher, do the trash. Like, we kind of just ebb and flow a little bit. So some days I'll go 3 nights in a row doing the kitchen, some nights she will. But I had been doing the dishes. So she looked in the dishwasher, and I was looking for the tablespoon measure at night. And I said, "Hey, is a tablespoon over there?" And she goes, "This isn't a tablespoon. This is a teaspoon." I said, "What?" Like, so 2 nights in a row, I was using a teaspoon measurement instead of a tablespoon measurement because I don't measure anything. I don't even know what the measurements are. So I'm like, it's just ridiculous, right? So I ended up having a little bit more salad dressing for the rest of the week, which maybe that's why I had headaches, because I didn't even know the stinking difference between a tablespoon and a teaspoon. But and you say, well, Nick, it says it on the thing. Our measuring little spoons or whatever so old, it was kind of like rubbed off a little bit, like all I saw was the one on there, so I thought it was good. So that was kind of funny. So I used a teaspoon for most of the week instead of a tablespoon. But um so a couple of wins, right? And the wins are small, but like I said, the sugar thing is a big win for me, that I can see past that I pushed through that, and that it only took a week for me to get there. The small wins, things I was presented with. One was donuts, so I was able to say no to donuts, and not that I even care about donuts. It's never something that uh, I never went to the store specifically to get donuts. It's not a thing. But when a 3-year-old sees donuts at a grocery store and wants to bring like, I can't say no to this guy, right? He he wants some donuts. Daddy's going to get him some donuts. It's like it is what it is, right? So that's part of like the naked and afraid part of my journey. I feel like this is definitely my issue that I have to get control over, or maintain control over, and I can't push my agenda or what my feelings and everything are on my kids and everything. So they have their own kind of food process, and I'll have my own food process. But she Ryan definitely takes after Stephanie, his mother, where he can, he'll take a bite of donut and that's it. And he's running off and playing. Now I know he's 3, and there's, you say, a lot of kids are like that, but he definitely doesn't have the addictive personality that I can see. He's definitely more like Stephanie, which Stephanie has no weight issues whatsoever. She can take a couple of bites of something and put it away. It's not a big deal. Now, on the flip side, I have to watch out for this guy, right? Because you can see the chocolate donut, if you will, on his face. He's a little bit more like daddy, and so I'll have to keep a close eye on him, where he gets those donuts and he's just full-fledged, mouth-watering, devouring anything in sight. So we'll have to keep an eye on this guy. But for the most part, donuts, I definitely passed that up this week, which was a little bit tough. And then we did have some Wendy's in the house, and Wendy's was probably my favorite fast food of all, the different fast food branches, if you will, or whatever. So but having that in the house, right? Had it for lunch over the weekend, or they had it for lunch over the weekend. I actually went and got it. So the cool thing was, and I put myself in that situation where I'm like, I'm gonna go get them food. I'm gonna go through the drive-through. I'm not gonna order anything, just to see. And I wasn't hungry, and that's the key to this whole thing right now. And again, I'm not intending to even tell you guys what I'm doing. If you want to know what I'm doing, feel free to send me a direct message, and I'll talk to you about it. But for the most part, just to give you a general idea, um, I'm eating about every 3 hours. Small portions every 3 hours is the key to my success so far, and I think that's going to be the key to my success moving forward. Because before, like I said, I was eating one big meal around lunchtime and one big meal around dinner time. And I don't know if you guys know this. I actually watched a documentary a couple years back about how sumo wrestlers train. And sumo wrestlers, there's a documentary on Netflix. I probably watched it like 4 or 5 years ago, but that's exactly what they do. They pretty much eat one gigantic meal a day, and that's it. So like a couple years back when I saw that documentary, I kind of laughed and I'm like, oh, I eat like a sumo wrestler. Well, yeah, I look like a freaking sumo wrestler too, right? Even larger than a sumo wrestler. So the this is the exact opposite. So when you talk about doing something different, shocking your body, I definitely shock my body, but I can see how eating those every 3 hours throughout the day, and I have it. I literally, again, giving myself every opportunity not to fail. So I put it in my calendar, right? There's an alarm that goes off on my phone pretty much every 3 hours. And this week it shaked out. It was 8:30, 11:30, 2:30, and then I kind of staggered it. I did five between 5 and 5:30, and then around 7:30 to 8, and then around 10 o'clock. So that was kind of my stopping point. And it's crazy, like when you get to work, right, you're working on something. For me, like if I'm launching a bunch of ads or a campaign or building a website or something, I mean, I can sit down at a computer and look up, and next thing you know, there's 6 hours gone because I'm just working, I'm focused. And you guys can all relate to that when you get going on something. So the idea that interrupting my day and making it a point to eat every 3 hours was a big deal, and it was a big difference, and I saw that difference from before. And I think that's one of the key things to stabilizing and just keeping that energy up. The energies, I can't believe how I could go from 5,000 calories to significantly less, and then have significantly more energy. It's really crazy to feel like that can happen so fast. So um, again, this is just going to be a weekly update. I'm just going to kind of riff for a couple minutes, 15, 20 minutes. If you guys want to watch, I appreciate it. If you have any questions about what I'm doing, hopefully you guys will, I'm doing this for myself for accountability, but there so many people reached out to me that were inspired because I'm happy to be the guy that you look at and say, wow, I'm not as fat as that guy, but I definitely have to do something about my situation, right? So if I'm the bullseye and you guys poke and look at me and say that guy's gigantic and he's got a way bigger problem than me, like I'm cool with that. If I can inspire some people and help some people lose weight and get healthy, that's what I'm going to do. And it's going to help me in turn because it's going to really help me stay motivated because like I told you, I'm not a selfish person. I always put everybody else first. So doing this for myself and declaring this for myself was a big deal. And now that I know that I have other people that are also feeling like they need to wrap their heads around their health and be more purposeful, eh, it's just awesome. It's an awesome thing, and I really appreciate it and all of your thoughts and just watching my journey. Right. So I intend to check in with you guys every Monday to give you some results. Hopefully they'll all be good results, but maybe I'll have some bad weeks. It's going to be a long journey. It took me 36 years to get to 470 pounds, so I don't expect to lose it very quickly. Even though this first week was like gangbusters, 16 pounds is great. But I know that moving forward, the scale, I shocked my body for the first week. So I'm not going to lose, 3 or 4 pounds a day for forever. Right. But I am super pumped. Energy's up. Everything's good, and I'm excited to share the rest of this journey. So, for anybody who's on live still, if you got any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I'll follow this video, the thread. If you got any posts or post your questions, if you watch the replay, give me a hashtag replay. And if you want to talk more with me personally about, maybe some demons that you have with food, I'm open, man. Just hit me in the DM on Facebook, and yeah, we'll chat. I'm happy to help anybody any way that I can. This is exciting for me, and I'm super pumped. So I appreciate you guys, love you guys, and talk to you next week. See ya.